Here, meet Damona Hoffman.
I'm Damona Hoffman, and I am so thankful to be nominated for iDate's Best Dating Coach of 2016. So I thought I should tell you a little bit about who I am and why I think I'm qualified to win this prestigious award. I was actually the first dating coach in California to be certified by the International Dating Coach Association, and I'm the host of the FYI TV show #BlackLove. And really, that show is one of the only shows on television that really shows dating coaches doing what we do and transforming lives and helping people overcome their obstacles in dating. Speaking of overcoming obstacles in dating, I thought I'd give you a little bit of info on my philosophy. You see, I am a modern dating coach. I don't believe in the old rules of chivalry and the traditional gender roles, and I really coach people from a point of view of how to survive the dating world and find what you want in a modern world where technology has impacted everything about the dating process. And I know this because I actually started online dating over 15 years ago. I ended up meeting my husband on a dating site 12 and a half years ago. And since that time, singles have come to me to help them overcome their modern dating dilemmas. And there's so much for people to deal with now with dating sites, dating apps, texting and dating, and emojis, and all of these new modes of communication and new rules of courtship where men and women now have a level playing field and can both communicate with one another. And there's a lot of confusion over what the current gender roles are because they've definitely shifted from the traditional. So this is really what I specialize in and what I love to do every week on #BlackLove on FYI. So if you believe in that cause and you believe in me, please vote for me for iDate's Best Dating Coach of 2016. I've been a big fan of iDate for a long time. I've been coming to the conference for 6 years, and it would be a tremendous honor to be named the Best Dating Coach this year. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, it's the time you were waiting for. Damona Hoffman. She's here with us right now, certified dating coach, radio host, and TV personality. Welcome, Damona.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I know a lot of people are going to be really curious to find out what your dating advice is, but the first thing I wanted to know is, what do you do?
What do I do? What don't I do, Dr. Carter? Ultimately, I help people become more confident in who they are and learn how to present those qualities that are wonderful and unique and special about them so that they can attract someone who is going to be really their ideal partner and who will amplify those qualities.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So, I guess we're going to go right to the nitty gritty here. What are some of the challenges you find common in dating that people have come to you with?
I think the challenges are a little bit different for men and women, but overall, I find that now in today's society, we are so connected to our technology, and we're all so busy in our daily lives that sometimes finding love gets put to the back burner, or it becomes something where, we saw in movies that we could just magically fall in love and come across the right person and they'd sweep us off our feet and you live happily ever after. And the reality is that doesn't happen most of the time. And I think sometimes people feel like if they have to, I say have a plan to find your man, if they have to put focus around their love life, that they've failed. And what I try to encourage people to understand is that it's not a failure at all. It's an amazing opportunity that you have to find someone now who's the perfect fit for you. Even just a couple of generations ago, you would end up dating whoever lived across the street from you or whoever went to your church and your mom knew them, and suddenly now that's the person that you marry. And now with online dating and new technology, new tools, with the internet, we have the ability to connect with someone anywhere in the world who is the perfect fit for us. And so it can be overwhelming, but if you put a process like I do with my clients, you actually can find that right person. It's not a needle in the haystack. You will get results if you put the same amount of focus into your love life that you do anything else that you're successful at.
I completely agree with that. That's a great point. So, what are some of the things you've heard that people are having trouble with in dating? Is it finding somebody? Is it just finding a date, period? What's the more common theme?
Well, it really varies from person to person, and I've worked on all aspects of the date. I started out as an online dating coach, and I met my husband online a long time ago, almost 13 years ago. So really when online dating was just beginning. And I've seen the issues change over time. And I have found that now people get sort of overwhelmed and they get stuck. And they find that there's so many options out there, but at the same time, there are no options. Like I hear from clients, they have all these messages in their inbox from people they don't want to meet, and they don't know how to meet the right people. And then I was just speaking with a client today who said she's getting a ton of messages on OkCupid. She's always able to get to the date, but then she has a first date and she never has a second, and that's also very common. So I really try to pick apart where in the dating process someone is getting stuck, and really hone in on, is the issue about what you're bringing into that first date? Is it about how you're filtering your dates getting to the date? Is it about not being open enough to meet someone offline? And I really dissect everyone's unique challenges and try to create a plan that will work for them.
Let me ask you this. I think it's fair to say or fair to use the baseball analogy. What I mean by that is some of the best hitters in baseball will hit 3 out of 10 pitches as a hit, or 3 out of 10 at bats, and they'll get a hit. So you know as a baseball player, even as one of the best baseball players, that you're only going to be successful 3 out of 10 times. Is that pretty much a safe number, or maybe it's even less than that for people who are dating? Or do they... Go ahead.
I love sports analogies and dating. I'm not big into sports, but I'm huge into sports analogies. And it's interesting that you say that 3 out of 10 is really good, because that's actually the average response rate when someone sends a message out online. Usually they'll get 3 responses for every 10 messages they send, and sometimes people find that discouraging. But if you flip the script and you look at it from, there's 3 possible connections for you, that's better than having 0 connections. And so it's really not about having, a perfect 10 out of 10. It's about having the right connection with the right person.
Yeah, it's a great point too. Flipping is actually a very important component. Perception's everything. And how many people can you date anyway? If you had 100 respond, or 100 people and 30 responded, that's a lot of dating.
It is a lot of dating. And in some ways, I find online dating to be an exercise in first dates, but it only takes one, like I said, to make it through and end up as your perfect match. So sometimes you have to look at the dating process just as that, as a process. And I find a lot of times, like, for example, I'm hosting a TV show on FYI Network called #BlackLove, and I take 5 women along with my co-host who's a therapist, and we go through a series of workshops and hear what's coming up for them in dating and change their love lives over 10 weeks. And with the women on that show, a lot of them are feeling the biological clock ticking, and they're feeling like, I don't have time, I don't want to go on these waste of time dates. And in some ways, I think that is what sometimes keeps someone single. Instead of looking at each of those dates as a waste of time if they don't end up in a relationship, could we look at them as an opportunity to get to know yourself better, to be clearer on who you are and what you're looking for, and also sometimes just to practice. I work with a lot of people who have been in a relationship, maybe they're divorced or separated, and they haven't dated in a long time. you really have to relearn flirting skills and communication skills in a new way. And sometimes people laugh when I tell them I teach flirting coaching and I do seminars on this, because they're like, flirting, that should be obvious. Why do you have to learn to flirt? But it is a learned skill, and I don't know why there's this misconception that dating is something that one should innately know how to do. It is a learned skill like anything else, that the more you practice it, the more confident you'll become, the stronger your skills will become, and the better you will be.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Before I was married, I dated a lot, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot. At least I learned a lot of things not to do most of the time.
Yeah, and you learn about yourself in each of these dates, too.
Yeah, you really do. You learn about yourself. You learn about what you like in the other person.
Right, but there is one big mistake I see people doing, and that's overstaying their welcome on the first date. So the first date really only needs to be about an hour long, because you want to leave the energy at a high point, and you want to leave them wanting more. So a lot of times when people first come to me, they're having 2 and 3 hour first dates. No wonder you feel burned out and exhausted, because instead of 10 dates taking 10 hours, 10 dates is taking 30 hours, and that's a real commitment. But if each individual interaction is just a little slice of your time, it doesn't feel like such a burden.
So the first date, it's better to go have coffee or something like that instead of having a dinner.
Oh, dinner dates are death.
Really?
Dinner dates are the worst for two strangers. It's like an interview, and you don't have anything else to talk about, but you're staring at each other and the food, and it's quite uncomfortable for a first date. I'm a big fan of coffee, drink, something light, and I'm a really big fan of activity dates, doing something that gets your adrenaline pumping, that gives you something, a shared experience to talk about, whether you're just going for a walk along the beach or you're playing a game of pool. There's something else that you're talking about, and the focus isn't just on, we have to make a connection with one another. I have to learn as much as I can about this person. I have to make them think that I'm charming and gorgeous and all of these wonderful things that they're looking for on the first date. You could just have fun and be yourself.
Yeah, that's a funny component too, isn't it? Because a lot of times we're so worried about how we're acting while the other person is doing the exact same thing. Nobody's even paying attention to each other.
Exactly. And most of the times, when I talk to my clients after a first date, a week goes by, they don't even really remember the date.
That's
They
right.
only remember the feeling that they left the date with. And that's why it's really important to leave the energy of the date on a high note, because they may remember 1 or 2 stories, but ultimately they'll remember, I was having a good time, and then I got sort of bored and I didn't really see the need to hang out with her again, versus leaving it feeling like the date is ending in the middle and you have to see each other again to continue the conversation.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Let me ask you this question. I don't know how it is nowadays, but I used to hear a lot, oh, go to bars to meet people. Is that true?
I could go anywhere to meet somebody, and because I've been coaching online dating for so long, sometimes people think that that's the only way that I think you can meet a mate, and that's not true at all. And I found when I was online dating, I actually met more people out in the real world than I had before I started online dating, because I had built up my confidence and my communication skills, and I really was better at flirting and all these things that we've been talking about. So is a bar the first place I would go to meet someone? Probably not, but it's certainly somewhere that if you're single, you should have your radar, have your antenna up, and be open to possibility, and start conversations. And I say this to both women and men. Just because you're beginning a conversation with them doesn't mean that you're giving them a marriage proposal. I think sometimes people tend to play ahead, and they play to like the end outcome, and they think, oh, I couldn't bring this person home to my mother. And it's not about that at all. When you're out at a bar, you just want to create opportunities, create conversations, and see what happens, because ultimately you're not going to be making your best decisions in a bar setting under any circumstances. But as drinking, that's not really when you tend to be your best self. So just using the bar as another way to make a connection, and then again move the energy forward to the first date and the second date, and let the attraction develop over time.
Sounds like great advice to me. Well, she should. She's an expert. What am I saying? Couple more questions. We got about 5 or 6 minutes. One question somebody sent in. Look, who is this? This is Bob from Oklahoma. He wants to know, are pickup lines effective? Or should you not even bother with them?
I wish Bob was on the line so I could ask him how they're working for him.
Doesn't sound like it's
If
working.
he's asking a question, I'm assuming that they're not working so well out in Oklahoma. But there's a wide variety of dating coaches out there, and there's a lot of pickup artists that men sometimes go to get these lines, and then they go out and try it in the bar, and they're like, that line didn't work because the line wasn't authentic to them and who they are. And if you go to my website at DamonaHoffman.com, the tagline is "Love as you are." So it's not love as someone else told you to love, or take someone else's pickup lines and pretend like that's who you are. It's really find out what's unique and different about you, and learn how to express that. And, I tell my clients, you need to have an elevator pitch for what you want. And, this doesn't mean like they're going out to the bar like, hey, lady, I'm a professional guy who's looking for a woman to settle down. Like, that's not the elevator pitch. But being able to really sum up in a short period of time who you are, what you're about, and what your purpose is there. On last night, or this week's episode of Black Love, we did a little flirting coaching exercise, and I had the women play out some scenarios of having a man approach them, and one of the women, who is a self-professed control freak, said that she wanted the guy to state his purpose. She didn't want him to just like try and make small talk. She wanted to know he was there for business. So I do find a lot of times, like I said at the beginning, we're all so busy, we don't have a lot of time for small talk. If you state your business and you cut to the chase, and you're honest about who you are, and you're honest about how you feel, a lot of times that's a million times better than a pickup line.
Honesty? That's what you're telling me here?
How radical!
Let me add, we got another question. I don't know why all the guys are sending us questions today, but that's just the way it works. We have another question from Jerry. He is from Louisiana. Everybody down south is calling, or south and Midwest. He wants to know, is it really true that you shouldn't date up or down? And I guess I'm assuming he means if you're a 6 or a 7 in looks, I guess, should you go with a girl who's a 9 or a 10?
Well, you have to have a comprehensive understanding of who you are and where you fit and what you have to offer. So someone might be a 6 in looks, but traditionally women are attracted to resources. And so if a man can provide for her, sometimes that makes him more attractive than a 6. And I'm just being honest, like that's not what every woman is interested in, but sometimes that can make someone more attractive. Or like in the case of me and my husband, I was certainly attracted to him physically, but when I left the date, the first thing I said was, he is the smartest man I've ever been on a date with. And for him, his intellect made me more attracted to him. So we have to just kind of know what are all the parts of us that we bring to the table, and find someone who's a really good complement for that. And attractiveness is really very personal. And there might be someone that you think is a 10 that someone else thinks is a 6. And if you think that they're a 10, then great, go for that person. The problem is, sometimes I see, because men are visual. Men fall in love with their eyes, women fall in love with their ears. Sometimes I see on dating sites that because there are so many beautiful women that the men think, oh, well, they're online, women who are getting hundreds, if not thousands, of messages a day, and they're overlooking the more appropriate women that really would be a better match for them because they have the eye candy that they're thinking that they might have a chance for. So I would say to the guys to pay a little bit more attention to the girls that are not the 10s, but they're still attractive, because those are the ones that are probably more likely to write back, and then you get less frustrated. But ultimately, you have to be matched with someone who meets you on your level. And I like I said, I'm not a pickup artist coach. I coach people who are looking for long-term relationships, and the qualities that stand the test of time are having shared values and seeing the world in the same way and really being matched on a deep level. And so I think looks can come and go, and that's one thing that it's so impermanent that you cannot base your decision just on physical attributes alone.
It's a great advice. Boy, you got to love her. Damona Hoffman. DamonaHoffman.com, is that where it is?
DamonaHoffman.com, yes.
Fabulous stuff. We got one more question. We got 1 more minute left. It's from Cindy in Los Angeles. She wants to know, she likes this guy at her church, but she can't seem to ask him out because it just doesn't feel right. Since she goes to church with him, she just kind of feels or doesn't go to church with him, but I guess they attend church at the same time. It just kind of feels weird to her. Any ideas there?
Well, I'm a modern dating coach, so I am pro women taking control of their love life. However, I will say there's a line between creating a conversation at a bar or at a church function and becoming a pursuer or aggressor, which is traditionally unattractive to men, because as much as we try to hide from our biological wiring, there is a part of traditionally a man likes to chase and a woman likes to be chased. So if you come on too strong, it can really turn off a guy very quickly. So I would suggest to Cindy to try and hint at the fact that she wants to spend more time with this person. See if she can find things that they have in common that they can talk about and maybe exchange numbers, and see if the chemistry can develop from there. I don't recommend going right up to him and saying, hey, can we go out on a date? Because he probably will be so taken aback that he won't know what to say. But if she can just begin with a friendship, just since this is something where she's going to see him at church all the time anyway, and if it doesn't go well, it could become very awkward for her. And if it doesn't end up in a romantic connection, then at least you still have a friendship.
Great advice. We got to bring it back, Damona. You got to come back. A lot of questions.
Come back. Thank you so much for having me.
We have a lot of questions I wanted to get to. Ethnicity, does that play a part? Age, all those fun things. But tell us more about where we can get more information about you and your show and everything else.
Well, my show is on every Tuesday night on FYI Network after Married at First Sight, and that's at 10:15 p.m. And it's interesting, we actually do talk about ethnicity a lot on that show, since it is Black love, and there's interracial dating, and then there's a whole variety of cultural conversations that show opens up. And I actually host my own show as well on Wednesdays on UBN Radio. It's called Dates and Mates with Damona Hoffman. And you can also find that show on iTunes, and I love taking questions there, and as well on Twitter at Damona Hoffman.
Sounds great to me. There she goes. There she is, Damona Hoffman. Go to DamonaHoffman.com. Thank you again, Damona.
Thank you so much.
Fabulous stuff. Really fascinating, wasn't it?